Most people believe type 2 diabetes is a one-way diagnosis. You get it, you manage it, you live with it forever. That's what the pamphlets say. That's what most doctors imply when they write the prescription. I believed that too, for the first 12 years of my career. I thought my job was damage control, slow the progression, prevent the complications, keep people out of the emergency room. Then I started counting the patients who came to me with a hemoglobin A1C above 8, convinced they'd be on insulin for life, carrying that diagnosis like a heavy coat they could never take off, who walked out of my office 6 months later with completely normal blood sugar readings. No medication, no insulin, just food. Real food, eaten in the right order, at the right times, in the right combinations. I'm talking about a 68-year-old retired postal worker who'd been diabetic for 14 years. 4 medications daily, waking up every morning to finger pricks and pill bottles. Neuropathy starting in both feet, that burning, tingling sensation that kept him awake at night. His doctor had told him it was progressive and irreversible. He did exactly what I'm about to tell you today. Exactly what I'm going to walk you through in this video. 12 weeks later, his A1C dropped from 8.4 to 5.7, from diabetic range to completely normal. His doctor cut 3 of his 4 medications within the first 8 weeks. The neuropathy stopped progressing. The tingling began to fade, and the first thing he said to me at his 3-month follow-up, sitting across from me with tears in his eyes, was this: "Why didn't anyone tell me food could do this? Why did I suffer for 14 years when this information existed the whole time?" That question has stayed with me. It keeps me awake some nights. What I'm going to tell you today is what nobody took the time to explain to him, or to millions of people just like him. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm an endocrinologist with 28 years treating metabolic disorders. I've worked with over 3,000 diabetic patients in that time. I've watched the same preventable patterns repeat over and over again. People doing what they were told, taking their pills, checking their numbers, and still getting worse. Not because the advice was wrong, but because it was incomplete. The 15-minute appointment doesn't leave room for the full conversation. The conversation about what happens to your metabolism after 60. About why the standard diabetic diet that worked for a 40-year-old body stops working for a 70-year-old one. About the specific food combinations that can drop blood sugar faster than some medications. Today, I'm going to give you that complete conversation. The one that should happen in every diabetes diagnosis, but almost never does. Before we get into the 5 foods, you need to understand something fundamental about what changes in your body after 60. Your pancreas doesn't suddenly stop working. Your cells don't suddenly refuse insulin. What changes is the margin for error. Think of it like this. Your metabolism is a bank account. When you're 40, you have a massive overdraft protection. You can eat a bowl of pasta at 9 p.m., sleep 5 hours, skip breakfast, and your body compensates. The system absorbs the shock. After 60, that overdraft protection shrinks. The same bowl of pasta at 9 p.m. doesn't get processed the same way. Your liver's glycogen storage capacity drops by 30 to 40% compared to when you were younger. Your muscle mass decreases, so you have less tissue actively pulling glucose out of your blood. Your sleep quality deteriorates, which directly impairs insulin sensitivity. Your cells become more resistant to insulin signals. Your digestive enzymes don't break down food as efficiently. Your hormonal balance shifts in ways that favor fat storage over fat burning. Individually, none of these changes are catastrophic, but they accumulate, layer by layer, year by year, and the margin gets smaller. And smaller margins mean blood sugar swings that used to self-correct now don't. They persist, they compound, they damage. Here's the statistic nobody mentions in those pamphlets they hand you at diagnosis. After age 65, muscle mass drops by about 1 to 2% per year if you're not actively preventing it. Muscle is where most of your glucose gets stored and burned. Less muscle means higher blood sugar from the exact same meal you used to handle fine 10 years ago. The food didn't change. Your capacity changed. Your metabolic reserve narrowed. And here's what makes this particularly cruel. The standard diabetic diet advice was designed for younger bodies with more metabolic flexibility. Eat whole grains, count your carbs, avoid sugar. That advice isn't wrong, but it's incomplete for a body over 60. It doesn't account for the reduced muscle mass. It doesn't account for the slower digestion. It doesn't account for the hormonal shifts that make your cells more insulin resistant at baseline. So you follow the advice perfectly, and still your numbers creep up. Not because you're doing it wrong, because the advice doesn't match your physiology anymore. And that's the conversation we're about to have right now. The first food that can reverse diabetes is not a superfood. It's not exotic. It's not expensive. It's the order you eat what's already on your plate. Let me explain. When you eat carbohydrates first, on an empty stomach, your blood sugar spikes fast and high. Your pancreas has to release a massive burst of insulin to handle it. After 60, that insulin response becomes slower and less efficient. The spike is sharper. The recovery takes longer. The damage accumulates. But if you eat the same exact meal in a different order, the glucose response is completely different. Vegetables first, then protein and fat, then carbs last. Why does this work? Fiber from vegetables forms a physical mesh in your digestive tract. It slows down how fast glucose enters your bloodstream. Protein and fat trigger hormones that further delay gastric emptying. By the time the carbohydrates arrive, your system is primed to handle them gradually instead of all at once. I had a patient, a 72-year-old woman named Margaret, retired teacher, type 2 diabetic for 9 years. She changed nothing about what she ate. Same portion sizes, same recipes, same total calories. She just started eating vegetables first, then protein, then her rice or bread last. 3 months later, her fasting glucose dropped from 168 to 112. Her A1C went from 7.9 to 6.2. No new medication, just the order. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself right now. When you sit down for dinner tonight, what's the first thing on your fork? If it's bread, rice, pasta, or potatoes, you're spiking your blood sugar before your body has any defense system in place. Starting tonight, vegetables go first, not as a side dish you get to eventually. First, before anything else touches your lips. That one change, maintained consistently, can drop your post-meal glucose by 30 to 50 points within 2 weeks. Write that down. Now this next one surprises people every time. The second food is vinegar. Specifically, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water, taken 10 minutes before a carbohydrate-heavy meal. I can already hear the skepticism. Vinegar? That sounds like folk medicine, not endocrinology. Let me show you exactly why this works. Acetic acid, the active component in vinegar, does 2 things. It slows the breakdown of starches into glucose in your digestive tract, and it improves insulin sensitivity in muscle tissue, helping your cells pull glucose out of the bloodstream more effectively. There are published studies showing a single tablespoon of vinegar before a meal can reduce the blood sugar spike by 20 to 30%. For a senior with compromised insulin response, that 20% reduction is the difference between your pancreas keeping up and your pancreas failing to compensate. I'm not talking about chugging a bottle. 1 tablespoon, diluted in 8 ounces of water, 10 minutes before you eat, that's all. A 65-year-old man named Robert came to me last year. Diabetic for 6 years, morning fasting glucose consistently above 150. He started the vinegar protocol, measured his glucose before and after breakfast for 2 weeks. The average drop in his post-breakfast spike was 42 points. Same breakfast, same portions, just vinegar 10 minutes before. Does it work for everyone to that degree? No. Some people see 15 points, some see 50. But the mechanism is real. The research is solid, and the cost is about $4 a month. If you try this, use apple cider vinegar with the mother, the cloudy sediment at the bottom of the bottle. That's where the beneficial bacteria and enzymes are concentrated. Mix it in water. Do not take it straight. It can damage tooth enamel and irritate your esophagus. 10 minutes before your largest carbohydrate meal of the day. Give it 2 weeks and check your numbers. You'll see it. Let me ask you something before we go further. How many times have you heard, eat more fiber? Probably hundreds. But has anyone ever told you which fiber matters most for blood sugar control? Probably not. That's what we're covering now. The third food is soluble fiber. Not fiber in general, soluble fiber specifically. There are 2 types of fiber. Insoluble fiber, which is the roughage in wheat bran and leafy greens. It helps digestion, but it doesn't do much for blood sugar. Then there's soluble fiber. It dissolves in water and forms a gel in your intestines. That gel coats your digestive tract and slows glucose absorption dramatically. The best sources are oats, barley, beans, lentils, chia seeds, and psyllium husk. After 60, your body's ability to handle sudden glucose loads diminishes. That gel from soluble fiber becomes a critical buffer. I worked with a 70-year-old woman named Linda. She'd been on metformin for 8 years. Her morning fasting glucose hovered around 140. I told her to eat 1/3 cup of steel-cut oats every morning. Not instant oats, steel-cut. The processing matters. She added cinnamon and a few walnuts. No sugar, no honey. Within 6 weeks, her fasting glucose dropped to 108. Consistently, her doctor reduced her metformin dose. Same everything else in her diet. The soluble fiber from those oats created a slow release effect for whatever she ate the rest of the day. Here's the actionable fix. Add 30 grams of soluble fiber to your daily intake. Not all at once. Spread it across meals. A bowl of oatmeal in the morning gives you about 4 grams. A half cup of black beans at lunch adds another 6 grams. A tablespoon of ground chia seeds in water before dinner adds another 5 grams. If you're not used to fiber, start with 15 grams and work up over 2 weeks. Too much too fast will cause bloating and discomfort. Your gut bacteria need time to adjust. But once they do, that soluble fiber becomes one of the most powerful blood sugar regulators you have access to. No prescription required to do 2 more items after this one. And item 4, that's the one that even I had a significant blind spot about for the first 15 years of my career. Stay with me. The 4th food is protein at breakfast. Not carbs, not juice, not toast. Protein. Protein. Let me explain why this is the single most important meal decision you can make as a diabetic over 60. When you wake up, your body has been fasting for 8 to 12 hours. Your liver has been releasing stored glucose overnight to keep your brain functioning. That's why fasting blood sugar in the morning is often the highest reading of the day. If the first thing you eat is carbohydrates, orange juice, cereal, toast, you're adding fuel to a fire that's already burning. Your blood sugar spikes. Your pancreas scrambles to respond. And because your insulin sensitivity is lowest in the morning after age 60, that spike lingers for hours. But if you eat protein first, 20 to 30 grams of protein within an hour of waking, something different happens. Protein stimulates a hormone called GLP-1. That hormone slows gastric emptying, blunts the glucose spike from anything you eat afterward, and actually improves insulin secretion. It's the same mechanism that the new diabetes drugs like Ozempic exploit, except you're triggering it naturally with food. I had a patient named Charles, 74 years old. His morning fasting glucose was routinely above 160. I told him to eat 3 eggs every morning before anything else. He was skeptical. He'd been told for years to avoid eggs because of cholesterol. I explained that the cholesterol fear for eggs has been debunked by recent research, especially for seniors whose real risk is muscle loss, not dietary cholesterol. He started eating 3 scrambled eggs with spinach every morning. No toast, no juice, just eggs and greens. 6 weeks later, his fasting glucose averaged 118. His energy levels improved. His afternoon crashes stopped. The protein didn't just stabilize his morning blood sugar. It set the metabolic tone for his entire day. Here's what nobody tells you. Your first meal of the day programs your metabolic response for the next 8 to 12 hours. If you start with sugar and refined carbs, your body stays in a high insulin, fat storage, glucose spiking mode all day. If you start with protein and fat, your body shifts into a stable, fat-burning, glucose-steady mode. The fix here costs nothing. 3 eggs, or a serving of Greek yogurt, or leftover chicken, or a protein shake. 30 grams of protein within the first hour after you wake up, every single day. Not next week, starting tomorrow morning. That one shift can drop your average daily blood sugar by 20 to 30 points within a month. I've watched it happen hundreds of times. This one is the hardest to talk about because it requires you to question something you've been told is healthy. The 5th food is not a food to add. It's a food to remove. Seed oils, vegetable oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil. These oils are in everything. Salad dressings, fried foods, packaged snacks, restaurant meals, and they are quietly destroying your insulin sensitivity. Here's what nobody tells you. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids. When consumed in excess, omega-6s promote chronic low-grade inflammation. Inflammation is the root mechanism behind insulin resistance. Your cells stop responding to insulin, not because they're broken, but because they're inflamed. After 60, your body's anti-inflammatory capacity weakens. The same omega-6 load that a 40-year-old can handle without issue becomes a metabolic burden for a 70-year-old. The oxidative stress accumulates, the inflammation compounds, and your blood sugar control deteriorates, even if you're doing everything else right. I worked with a 69-year-old man named Tom, type 2 diabetic for 11 years. He'd cut sugar. He was walking daily. He'd lost 15 pounds, but his A1C wouldn't budge below 7.4. I asked him to keep a food journal for a week. Every single day, he was eating foods cooked in or containing seed oils, store-bought salad dressing, fried fish, packaged crackers, restaurant stir-fry. I told him to replace every seed oil in his kitchen with olive oil or avocado oil, to stop eating fried foods unless he knew what oil was used, to make his own salad dressing. 3 months later, his A1C dropped to 6.1. Same diet otherwise, same exercise, same medications. He removed the chronic inflammatory trigger and his cells started responding to insulin again. The fix is simple, but requires vigilance. Check every label. If you see soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, put it back. Cook with olive oil, avocado oil, butter, or ghee. Avoid fried restaurant food unless you can confirm the oil. Make your own dressings and sauces. The processed food industry uses seed oils because they're cheap and shelf-stable. Not because they're healthy. After 60, your margin for metabolic error is gone. Seed oils are a chronic stressor your body can no longer afford. I want to be honest with you for a moment. Not as a content creator. As an endocrinologist, I have sat across from patients in my office at 8 in the morning after their lab results came back. Patients who had done everything their previous doctor told them to do. Taken their metformin every single day, checked their glucose religiously, cut out desserts completely, walked 30 minutes 5 times a week, and their A1C had still climbed from 6.8 to 8.2 over 3 years. I have watched grown men and women, people who raised families and built careers and survived wars and loss and hardship, break down in tears because they felt like failures, like their body had betrayed them. Like diabetes was a life sentence they couldn't escape no matter how hard they tried. And the truth is, in 90% of those cases, the problem was not lack of willpower. It was not weakness. It was not giving up. It was incomplete information. The standard advice focuses almost entirely on what not to eat. Don't eat sugar. Don't eat white bread. Don't eat pasta. Don't eat rice. Don't eat potatoes. The entire conversation becomes about restriction and deprivation, but it doesn't teach the mechanisms. It doesn't explain food order and why that matters more than total carbs for many people. It doesn't mention vinegar and the acetic acid pathway. It doesn't address seed oils and chronic inflammation or soluble fiber timing, or the critical importance of protein at breakfast for setting your entire metabolic tone for the day. These are not exotic interventions. These are not expensive supplements. These are the background noise of millions of ordinary kitchens. Toast for breakfast, bottled dressing on salads, vegetable oil for cooking, carbs first on the plate because that's how we've always done it. And that background noise, left uncorrected year after year, decade after decade, compounds into chronic disease. The gap between good control and poor control, between managing and reversing, is not discipline. It's not effort. It's information. Information that exists. Information that's published in medical journals. Information that somehow doesn't make it into the 15-minute appointment where your doctor hands you a generic meal plan and wishes you luck. I want to tell you about a patient. I'll call her Diane, 71 years old. Retired nurse, sharp, informed, disciplined. She'd been diabetic for 13 years. She came to me frustrated and exhausted. She was on 3 medications. Her morning fasting glucose was still above 150 most days. She felt like she was doing everything right and still losing ground. We spent an hour going through her typical day. Breakfast was instant oatmeal with raisins and a glass of orange juice. Lunch was a turkey sandwich on whole wheat bread with a side of pretzels. Dinner was grilled chicken, a salad with bottled dressing, and brown rice. Sounds healthy, right? It's what the standard diabetic diet handouts recommend. But we changed 5 things. She switched to steel-cut oats with no raisins, added a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before lunch, ate her salad and chicken before touching the rice, replaced the bottled dressing with olive oil and lemon, and added 3 eggs to her breakfast instead of the orange juice. Same total calories, same general meal structure, just those 5 shifts. 12 weeks later, her A1C dropped from 8.1 to 6.4. Her fasting glucose averaged 110. Her doctor cut 2 of her 3 medications. The first thing she said to me at her follow-up was, "I've been asking my doctors for years how to get better control. Why didn't anyone tell me about food order? About the oils? About any of this?" That question has stayed with me. It's a big part of why I make videos like this one. Because the information exists, the research is published, but it's not reaching the people who need it most. Let me recap the 5 foods. Number 1, eat your food in the right order. Vegetables first, then protein and fat, then carbohydrates last. That sequence alone can drop your post-meal glucose by 30 to 50 points. Number 2, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in water 10 minutes before your largest carb meal of the day. It slows glucose absorption and improves insulin sensitivity. Number 3, 30 grams of soluble fiber daily from oats, beans, lentils, chia seeds. Spread it across meals. Build up slowly to avoid digestive discomfort. Number 4, 20 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast within an hour of waking. This sets your metabolic tone for the entire day. Number 5, eliminate seed oils and replace them with olive oil, avocado oil, or butter. The chronic inflammation from omega-6 oils is silently undermining your insulin sensitivity. Which of these 5 do you recognize as something you're already doing? Which one feels like the biggest change for you? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to know where you're starting from. There is someone in your life right now. A parent, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, someone who's been told they have diabetes and they'll just have to live with it. Someone who's been gaining weight on their diabetes medications and doesn't understand why. Someone who's doing everything their doctor said and still watching their numbers get worse. Send them this video. That one share might be the most important thing you do today. Because the difference between managing diabetes and reversing it is not a miracle drug. It's information. Information that should be standard, but somehow isn't. Every week I bring you honest, evidence-based information that I wish every one of my patients had access to long before they needed an endocrinologist. If you want more of that, if you want to understand how your metabolism actually works and what you can do about it starting tonight, subscribe. One last thing, and this is important. Everything I've shared today is based on published research and my clinical experience as an endocrinologist. But your situation is unique. Your history is individual. Your medications interact in ways that are specific to you. Before changing anything, any medication dose, any supplement, any major dietary pattern, please talk to your own physician first. That conversation is not a formality. It is the whole point. Better information leads to better conversations. Better conversations lead to better outcomes. That's the chain that matters. Your body has been working for you every single minute of every single day for 60, 70, 80 years without ever asking for anything in return. It has kept your heart beating. It has healed your wounds. It has carried you through everything you've survived. Give it this. Give it the right food, in the right order, at the right times. It is never too late. Take care of yourself.